onto the top two. And even here, Gen G might have 0 real moves, but when you're talking about T1 and talk about endings to their split in 2020, that was one of the weirdest slumps to close out the year for them. When you talk about the Africa series in the playoffs, where they looked like they had the series in hand, all of a sudden they drop a couple games and they're out of the playoffs in the first round. Then they get to the Gauntlet Finals against Gen G, which, by the way, was a good series that Gen G performed in, where they 3-0'd T1. But their fall off at the end of the season did not make much sense to me. They were obviously a better team than they showed.
Yeah, this is one I think a lot of people need to realize, is that obviously when you're talking about T1 and them in the number 2 position, you're looking at last year. You're looking at the spring champions of that time. And then, then the drop off of the cliff and all the issues that come through. You're not even having Teddy play in that series against. There's a lot that was going on.
Yeah.
And not all of it, I will say, can be put on the shoulders of Coach Kim, who has departed from the organization. Not all of it can be put on him or in these type of ways. You have to be looking at the players. You have to be looking at them to be better. You have to be looking at the organization and how they handle things to be better. Now, why do we have faith that moving forward into this year that it will be better? Well, pretty easily, number 1 has got to be down in that support position, because
that's a big upgrade.
Keria,
that's a big upgrade.
Look, whatever you want to say about effort, even if you don't want to say anything negative, all the positive things that you can say about my man Keria and what he was able to do last year in his very first year on the big time LCK stage, this is a player that if you're T1, you are so unbelievably happy that you're able to get. Because normally, T1, these guys are in your organization. These guys are in the pipeline.
Yeah.
To miss on one of these guys and be able to snag them at this point, after everybody should be realizing how fantastic he is, this really is a prize gem for the T1 organization to have secured this offseason.
And you want to talk about their confidence in him as a player? He's really the only player that doesn't look like he's going to have a legit sub coming out in 2021. And look at the rest of the roster on T1. Kana, you got Zeus that people are legit saying, this guy is a star in the making. He should get some starts. Obviously, we have Cuz and Elam. Elam was already starting last year. Closer was starting over Faker. Gumiyoshi got the whole start in the series against Teddy. So T1, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if I saw all 4 of the other substitutes come in. But Keria, I'm pretty sure is going to be the only player on T1 that plays every game this year.
There is loads and loads of talent on this T1 organization. As you say, this roster is going to see lots of players play. That is going to be something I think a lot of people are, it has changed from previous years and changed along the years of League of Legends, let alone the T1 organization, is how much of a reliance and how much of, they're going to be working in these players from the academy scene, especially this T1 academy that is now really having players push at that level of demanding an LCK starting time. You're going to have to see that. And even for a situation like Kana and Zeus, where Zeus is this really high up potential prospect. What was Kana last year, my man? You can bet. How do you have a rookie year as good as Kana?
He's washed up, man. Second year, sophomore slump. Get him out of here. Bring a new rookie.
So that's exactly what I want to be getting to the point now. When you're talking about T1, their players that they have, what are the expectations for them to do? Even if you are one of these rookies, these inexperienced academy players stepping into the limelight to play, you got to play to the T1 level, right? And you got to play to what is going to be expected of the organization. And I've got no doubts that that's what we're going to be able to see from the squad. There are questions. There are going to be things about whether, you see some of the lingering issues from last year, right? Which ones are on the team, which ones in that organization, and which ones were really Coach Kim. But that is certainly we're going to have to see as time plays out.
And listen, we know T1 in the past have rocked these 6-7 man rosters to, world championships, talking about Easy Hoon coming in for Faker, obviously Blank, Bangy, Peanut, the trio of junglers between 2016 and 2017. But this feels different because it's multiple roles. You almost have a B team that's going to be legitimately starting. I wonder if it's going to be the Elam closer double subs that they're going to try doing, which a lot of people called for last split. But either way, you talk about talent. You and I both know that these guys are going to get starts, and we still have T1 at number 2.
The big step, that is going to have to be taken by certain members on the T1 organization, whether it's Kana or Zeus, right? You're going to have to get at least the same top tier level of top lane performance that you got from them last year. And, you know, sophomore slump, you can't afford for that if you're Kana, because then, hey, Zeus steps right in. You can't afford that if you're T1 because you need that level of play, as I've talked about in the top side. When you're talking about Ellum and Cuz, that's the really special one for me, because when you're looking at all these other players and what you can expect for them, that's the X factor really for T1 right now, is what you're going to get from the jungle performance. Cuz, I think, can step it up and should be able to step it up compared to some of the results that we had last year from him. I still have faith in that.
Remember the series against Gen G in spring where everyone was saying, Clid who? Cuz is the greatest jungler in the LCK.
Exactly. It still is a possibility with him playing, but the big one is going to be what you get from Ellum. I think that is something that needs to be unlocked this year for the T1 squad to take that next step forward, is having Ellum be a different type of threat than Cuz is for the squad in the jungle. Give them that extra look. It's about time.
And you mentioned Coach Kim is out. Zephyr comes back. How are we feeling about the coaching staff for T1 ahead of this year?
I don't think I was on the same roller coaster of emotions as people have been, or as other T1 fans have been with Zephyr in the past, right? As far as, you know, he's coming in, he's going to be fantastic, and everything is Zephyr's problem. Get rid of him. And then,
bands of all time.
Oh my God, this guy is the savior of now he's come. Okay, let's pump the brakes here. Zephyr, I think he's got his very clear positives and strengths and what he's identified and draft at certain times in his career. But the important thing, adding him in, is the rest of the coaching staff, right? There was a very big indication on, look, we're adding in more coaches. We're going to have them talk together on this. I got faith. I got that T1 faith coming through. It's going to work this year.
And pick ban is always seems to be an easy cop-out, especially for T1 whenever things aren't going their way. But with what happened at the end of 2020 summer, you can't put that solely on Coach Kim. That Africa series really sticks out to me again, because I watched the highlights recently and it was like, how does T1 lose this series? That was
right from the draft. That's how they lose it. I'll tell you that.
But you expect a bounce back from them. And yes, Gen G made no changes. They beat them in the gauntlet, but T1 was not playing to the level that they were the majority of 2020. You expect a fresh set, a refresh for them. And with Keria coming in, that's why we got them in that 2 spot ahead of Gen G.